friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chesswise. Today we are going to look at mating three positions and I have taken some mixed kind of positions. Already we know that we are at the intermediate level. So I have taken one endgame position here which is actually very easy, but I thought that it's worthwhile looking at the rook's power, and we are going to solve this position by the zugzwang method. We are going to create zugzwang on the black king. Then only it's possible to mate black in three moves. Okay. Normally what we do, we bring the rook and block it and then try to do checkmate. So concept is very easy. We see that what opponent is going to do here. See, the black king has two places, either a3 or a5. Okay, so white just has to do is he has to move the rook somewhere away. Let's say he can, if he wants to totally force one side, then he can do rook d5, but he can play anywhere else. And now we see that king is forced to go to a3, and after which what we want the king to be on a4 and then a side check from the rook, any check from the a5. Okay, so see, rook comes to d2. So this is the zugzwang method. We force the king back to the a4 square. Okay, so now see, king goes to a4 and rook a2 is checkmate. So let me show you once again. This same thing we could have achieved by rook d3 also. Now see, we are cutting off the third rank here, forcing the white king to a5, and now what we will do, we will block the sixth rank. So rook goes to d6, forces the king on a4 and rook a6, checkmate. So likewise, we could have played the rook anywhere along the d file and blocked the other side wherever the king is going. So we have the second position here. So another case where, see, interesting position, king and knight cannot mate the lone king. Okay, but what we see here, there is a presence of rook pawn, which is making things more complicated for black. The black king is going to run out of squares because of this pawn, and again here we use the zugzwang technique to mate the black king. So what we see first, that this knight should be able to guard the king's place, and we want the pawn to forcibly move to h2. So there are two ways. One, if we move the king instantly, then the black king will escape from g3, which we never want. Okay. Secondly, we can use the knight wisely. See, either knight f1 check. Now king has to go to h1, and now what we want? We want the pawn to come to h2, then knight g3 mates. But unfortunately, what happens? If we move the knight right now, king goes to h2, and if we move the king, then simply king g1, and then it's not possible to win. So this same position white can reach by the move knight g4 check. See, keeping the f1 square vacant. Now king has to go to h1, and now see, this is where we want this pawn to come to h2, and white vacates this square. So king moves to f1. See, not only we have created a zugzwang, the pawn is compelled to move. This is a semi-stalemate position where king is not able to move, only one piece can move other than that. So pawn moves to h2 and the knight check. So that is why king f1 cleared the square f2, and now see, this is a checkmate. So king and knight can only mate if the opponent's king is surrounded by its own pieces. Okay, or there are absolutely no squares, then only king and knight can mate the king. Let's look at the third position here. We already know that when the king is struggling for place, then the sacrifice check is very useful thing. Okay, see, the rook on e1 is guarding till e8, and the bishop on c4 is guarding till g8. So what is happening? The bishop and the rook, they are snatching away all the places for the king. See the activity of the white pieces. See, black is having a piece extra. Okay, rooks for rook, rook for rook, queen for queen, bishop for bishop, bishop for knight, and this knight we can say is extra. Okay, and top of that there is an extra pawn also. But in reality, see what is happening. Because black king is stuck in the center, it cannot castle. This rook is not going to come out, and same fate for the 8th rook. Means what we can see, it's not a piece down position for white, but it's like black being two rooks down. What white noted here is on the f file, pin is possible, and there could be some possibility of discovered attack also if the knight is not there. So white starts with the forced move. He notes that this bishop plays an important role and the queen, because the king is standing on the black square. So the first candidate what comes to mind is queen f6 check. Second that comes to mind is rook e8. Third which comes to mind is the move see bishop h6. Very interesting, very strong, threatening rook into f6 check. Pinning this. If pawn takes, then queen f6 check. Even that is very strong. Okay, but white started with the main move, see queen into f6 check. So this wins for white. You can calculate on your own also, and then check with my answer. So queen f6 check. Now see, queen comes to f7, then queen f7 mates. So the pawn has to take. But now the main thing is white should see further. After bishop h6 check, it's not a mate. So the queen is able to come to g7. Okay, bishop h6 check, forced queen to g7, and now what we see, because the queen is pinned, the queen is not protecting the f6 pawn. So rook f6 is a checkmate. See, the black king already we know it was not having place on the e file, and g8 was guarded with the bishop. Now the rook check makes it a checkmate. Let's look at the next position here. See, what we can see from the position is that white queen, both knights and bishop are very active. Last move has happened in such a way that see, we see both pawn attacks the knight and pawn attacks the queen. So two pieces are attacked. But if we understand the concept very well, because the black king is very weak and our pieces are very active, and on top of that this king has no place. So if we use the concept of check properly, check capture attack we try to use, what we will note that this position has to be winning for white. And what are the checks that we consider? We consider queen f7, queen g5, bishop g5, knight d5 and knight g6. See, these are the moves that we need to consider. And when we see bishop g5 or queen g5, we see that the move f6 is possible. Means f7 is one defender. Then we see knight d5 check, it forces ed5, so that should be considered. And we have knight g6 check, in which if f pawn moves, then bg5 check can be made. So these two moves come in top of the list, knight d5 and knight g6. Okay, so here there are two solutions. Actually both of them work. Let's start with nd5. nd5 check, forcing to take ed5. So the idea was to clear this file, and now white wants to use clearance of this square. So see the move knight g6. Now again king has no place. So if h into g6, then queen e5 check is made. Okay, and if after knight g6, f into g6, this time qe5 is not made because of king f7, but now comes the bishop to g5, and see all squares are blocked, bishop cannot be taken and nothing can block the check. So it has become a checkmate. I'll show you the other solution also. White could also do knight g6 first. When see after f into g6, we see what? The king has no place, and see bishop g5 check is a direct mate. Okay, f7 is guarded by the queen, and after the move h into g6, now we go other way around. Now comes knight d5 check, forcing him to take ed5, and this time bg5 would not work because of f6, but queen e5 is checkmate. So let's look at the last position here. This is a bit complicated one, so I have purposely mixed. Of course we are at the intermediate level, so I have kept mixed kind of positions. Okay, so let's get started. The queen is very active. The knight can jump to g6, so of course it is well placed here. We should not consider it like a cornered placing. This knight and bishop are also very strong. Knight is in the center of the board. Bishop can control till g8. As I told you before also, we should always see through the pieces till the end of the diagonal or file or rank. Okay. So now what happens here is white sees that black's defender are only very few. We can consider this rook f7 as a defender, and partly the queen d8 because knight f6 is controlled by that. So again we see that the king has less place, only one place. So white starts with knight g6 check, king g8, and now we see that this bishop plays a very important role. It can pin the rook on f7. So now comes knight f6 check. See, both knights and queen are covering all the places. So forced for black to take the knight with the queen. The rook couldn't take, as I mentioned, the bishop is pinning the rook. Now this queen was actually overloaded. It was guarding f8 and f6 both. So now queen f8 is the checkmate. So this is a brilliant kind of mate. The end position is so much different. But these kind of tactics is possible whenever the pieces are active and the king position is weak. Okay. So I hope you are enjoying these lessons. Do like, share and subscribe the channel. Thanks for your time.